the main problems I have with diets, and that's how diets can set us up to fail, is severely restricting calories can lower our metabolism. That backlash that we get from being really good, okay, I'm going to be really good and pass up the brownie, the cookie, but then I fall off the wagon and find myself digging into the ice cream or whatever it is. And now, a lot of weight loss programs are just focused on kind of the weight loss goal, and they don't take into effect the mental aspect. So a lot of programs will say, emotional eating, don't do it. Well, what do I do instead?
What else is there to do?
Right. So what this program really focuses on is the mental aspect, and it gives you the mental tools and the mental strategies. When we have the right mindset, weight loss can be easy, even natural. And what we're really looking for in this program is a long-term focus. We want to make changes that you can live with, that are comfortable, that you can have the rest of your life, so that we end that yo-yo dieting and we can keep the results and not have to worry about losing weight or gaining the weight back. So ideally, that's where we like to be. Now, a couple of ways that diets also set us up to fail is just in how we set our goal. Remember I said setting a weight loss goal? Part of this is in our language. Our language patterns our language really has the power to tune our brain into what we notice and what we focus on. So think of that phrase, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. What does that focus your mind on? What do you feel when you think of that phrase?
Thin.
Okay, you think thin, you already got to the
It's
results
like
of it.
the going part. The like
Going.
I'm going to lose weight, right?
Okay, so it's kind of in the
So
future.
it's just, yeah.
So off in the
Is it
future.
a little overwhelming?
Overwhelming. That's the biggest response that I get. Sounds like work. In fact, I think of the 20 pounds that I don't want, right? So what we talk about in the program is our language patterns have a lot to do with what we think, what we feel, and what we feel is really important because that's where our motivation comes from. Motivation is a feeling. So if we're not taking care of our thoughts and our feelings, we're going to continue to struggle. So this program is really almost a self-awareness piece, noticing those thoughts and feelings and changing those patterns so that we can be more motivated, and more comfortable in our program. So the other thing that this focuses on is, remember that phrase, I'm not going to eat sugar anymore. So what do you think about when you think of that phrase, I'm not going to eat sugar? Any mental pictures come to mind? Sugar.
Yeah.
So this is how
Substitutes.
and substitutes. Anything with
Things
sugar.
that are flying
Things
out
that have
of my-
sugar.
All the things that are flying out of my cupboards that I can't eat any longer.
Yeah.
Right. So this is part of how our brain works. There's a part of our brain that doesn't understand negatives. Consciously, we understand don't. We understand I'm not going to eat sugar. But there's a part of our mind that interprets our language using mental pictures. So it takes these snapshots of these mental pictures, doesn't translate in mental pictures. But these mental pictures are fed directly to our unconscious mind, and that's what our brain notices and focuses on. So when you think about I'm not going to eat sugar anymore, brings to mind sugar. And that primes our brain, that primes our unconscious mind to notice sugar. So it works great with kids. Don't get the cookies out of the cookie jar. What is that kid thinking? Cookies! Cookies are in the cookie jar. What is he picturing? Cookies. How am I going to get those cookies, right? So if you want to be more clear with your kids, you can really tune into this languaging, how we language things, and give them something positive to focus on rather than what you don't want. Well, it's the same with ourselves and with our unconscious mind. So in this program, rather than talking about a weight loss goal, we talk about a healthy weight number. So think of your healthy weight number. What weight would you like to be? And as you think about that number, what thoughts and feelings come to mind along with that?
Actually put in my clothes.
I can do it. I can fit in my clothes. I
bet
feel
every cloth
good
can
in
do
my
that.
clothes.
I usually think of two numbers, though. I usually think of a number that, in my head, I'm going, if I could just get to this, which would be comfortable, but in the back of my head, I'm going, but it really be nice to get
Okay, so there's kind of a first
Yeah.
goal and then a second
Yeah.
goal. Great. So
What's the if part? I mean, if? I mean, like, when?
Yeah.
right, right. So yeah, great noticing that language. So this is
She's fantastic, you guys. I am already trained.
Show off.
excellent. So this is what we pay attention to is our language patterns and how our language affects our motivation and our focus. So that's one way that that's kind of at the more simple level. So the reasons that people gain weight, or the reasons that we gain weight or don't stay on track with a program, most of us know what's healthy. We know what we should be doing or to lose weight or eat healthy. But the reasons that we get off track are not really operating at the conscious level. The reasons we get off track are old habits, mental patterns, cravings. Cravings aren't conscious. Cravings come from our unconscious mind. That's why they're difficult to fight, or we can maybe pass a craving once or twice, but then it comes back with a vengeance later. So cravings and even self-sabotage. You know, if you've noticed, I know I shouldn't be eating this, but here I go. It's like watching yourself do it.
And I mean, this is the same for me too. I mean, all of this stuff is ringing true with me, and I've, been a trainer and exercising long time since, high school, and all of this stuff is the same for me. Even though I exercise, it makes a huge difference. Huge difference. Sorry.
No, great. Glad you added that. But yeah, even as we know what we should be doing, we can still run into challenges in following through or difficulties with that. So what we focus on is how to address the cravings, how do we change at that underlying level the reasons for self-sabotage or the things that get in our way. So, and everyone's different. Weight loss is not the same for everyone. It can be simple to more complicated.
Absolutely.
And so what we look at the simple level, sometimes we just need a simple habit change. Part of this has to do with how our mind operates and how it focuses. So I was teaching a healthy lifestyle class, and my class, it was week 4. We've been talking about healthy lifestyle. This was before I had the brain training tools. They all filed in, and I said, okay, so what are you guys doing for exercise? I just got blank stares. Nobody was making eye contact, Nobody answered. So I'm like, well, you guys, you're supposed to be adding in some fitness. And one of the ladies blurted out, if we liked to exercise, we wouldn't be here. So, I thought about it. Well, what are you thinking and feeling when you think about exercise? And I asked them, what are you thinking and feeling? Oh, difficult, hard work, yuck, dirty, sweaty. So in their files, in the archives of their brain, their unconscious mind was sorting through all of this past history with exercise, and these were the feelings that came forward. So of course they weren't motivated, because it had negative associations to it. Well, it's kind of like Pavlov's dogs. Are you familiar with Pavlov? He's a psychology researcher. He'd ring a bell and then feed his dogs. And what happened is that he got really excited because he noticed as soon as he rang the bell, the dogs would salivate. So this is also how we operate. This is how our brain learns. It creates associations and meanings. So the dogs heard the bell, and then they had food, and over time they linked the two. Bell means food, and of course as soon as they heard the bell, they were thinking of food, right? So we have this set of associations in history because of our past history and our past experiences. So where this comes into play, hot fudge sundae is not just frozen sweet milk and chocolate goo. It's about every time we sat down with mom and dad over a sundae or enjoyed Sundays as a family, and it has this whole history connected to it. So for instance, what do you think of when you think of pumpkin pie? Thanksgiving, and what goes along with Thanksgiving? Family, warmth, connection.
Lots of food.
Lots of food, right. So we have all of this history of associations that play into how we think about foods, how we think about exercise, how motivated we are or unmotivated we are. So listening to my class, that's why I started to notice there are certain themes that people need in order to address these, mental associations, and in order to help them change them. So that's where I started creating my Lighten Up system, which is now renamed as a Lighter You system. But I put together these 6 themes into 6 CDs to change the mental habits and patterns that we have around foods, exercise, how we see ourselves. This was one lady that I spoke with. She had lost almost 100 pounds. But she said every time she saw herself in the mirror, she saw the old self. It was like her unconscious mind just didn't get the update that she had lost the weight and that she was okay and she was still herself as that lighter, fit person. So it's like sometimes the unconscious mind just doesn't get the updates, and that's what the CDs focus on, is changing the mental patterns so that your mind can operate for you. Your unconscious mind can actually work with you rather than against you and getting in the way. So another way that this can be, oh great, thank you.
I'm just going to show off for you.
Excellent.
If you
Susanna.
register, then you get a set of views for your own personal listening pleasure. I'm not being videotaped now. I hope maybe I will.
So this is, so the CD set is really about helping the brain change those mental habits and patterns. And that's kind of at the, well, it can range from that simple to the complicated level. So at the complicated level, we can actually be running up against mental blocks, which have to do with the reasons for self-sabotage and the reasons why we fall off the wagon. This comes from a story of one of my clients. She came in one week, and we'd been about 3-4 weeks into the program. She's like, oh, I did horrible this week. I ate everything in sight. I had to eat my way to the bottom of every bag that I could find. And we're not talking the small bags, we're talking the big bags. And so I asked, I'm like, what was different this week? She had done pretty well up until this class. She had noticed the benefits, had more energy, she'd been eating really well. I said, so what was different this week than last week? She said nothing. Well, my mom came to visit, and the rest of us, we kind of got it before she did. And then the lights went on, and she's like, oh, So she was looking at what the history and the patterns of communication she had with her mom related to underlying feelings of, like, mom was trying to fix her, not feeling good enough. And from there, it was, kind of spun her into a downward spiral. So to feel better, her unconscious mind was sorting through this history of foods. Oh, we were rewarded with M&Ms as a child. M&Ms would be really good. Let's go dive into that bag of M&Ms, So that's kind of how that system operates, the comfort eating, emotional eating, stress eating, eating to kind of change a feeling. So once we addressed and changed that, it was much easier for her to be around those foods and not have the compulsion to dive into those bags or finish those things off. So we've addressed kind of the simple level, which can be an association or the meanings connected with foods. We've addressed some of the how cravings operate. They come from the unconscious mind, and a lot of times those cravings are related to our history with foods. So think about the foods you were rewarded with as a child. Are any of those some of the foods that you crave time to time?
Yeah, it's like right now, it's time for happy hour.
I'm in the happy hour. I love it.
Our own clock's telling us what time it is.
So yeah, I mean, that's
Right. And then at the more complicated level, we can run up against some of those mental blocks. And actually, one of these mental blocks is weight loss is hard. If you've gone through weight loss programs or, boot camp trainings, sorry, nothing against personal training.
She knows her workouts.
But we can get this idea that in order to be effective, weight loss has to be really hard. You have to put in a lot of effort. Well, actually, your body can do a lot for you. It can burn off extra calories. Even in a resting state, it can kind of compensate. But there's a lot that it can do for you if it has the right directions, if it knows what to do, and if you're system is operating at a generally basically healthy level or healthy diet. So this idea of weight loss is hard, if that's one of the ideas that you have, then it kind of tunes your brain into looking for the weight loss programs that are hard, and so those are the ones that you follow or take up because it goes with that idea that weight loss is hard, right? So what we're changing in this program is some of these mental blocks that we have. It can really, you might know people that don't have to worry about their weight. It tends to be kind of a fairly easy thing for them, or some people can eat whatever they want and don't have to watch the calories or the extra things here and there. So it's not hard for everyone, so it's not a universal law, but there's mental patterns and different strategies that people are using which go into how our body operates. Even it relates to the stress response and how our body operates with that as well. So there can be a lot of factors that play into it, but once you have the mental tools, the strategies to change the cravings, self-sabotage, to recognize these mental blocks, sometimes we don't even know that they're there. We just run into lack of motivation, procrastinating, that sort of thing. So if you've noticed some of those mental patterns coming up for you, then this is really the program that can help you change that so that slimming down to your ideal healthy weight can be easy and natural process.